Hi guys, this is Tablet-News.com and I'm here with the Chuwi V8 tablet. It's a dual boot slate that we unboxed recently and now it's time for the review. Chuwi is a Chinese brand and this is the first dual boot tablet that we handle. It was launched at the end of 2014 with Windows 8.1 in tow first, and then in January came a second version that offered dual boot capability. So aside from Windows 8.1, it also had Android KitKat. The price at GearBest is $85 for this product. It keeps fluctuating. At some point the tablet was available for $120, then $92 and then $85, which is an excellent deal for this slate, especially considering the fact that you will get the Office license bundled with it. Now I want to discuss the design. This is an 8-inch tablet that measures 8mm in thickness, some sites say 7.9mm, it weighs 310 grams, and it has a plastic case that may look flimsy, but is actually pretty solid when you're feeling it around the edges. The design, the overall format reminds me of the Asus VivoTab Note 8, and it's a portrait-oriented device. It has pretty thick bezels, as you can see, pretty good grip, and also rounded corners. This slate has a protective screen layer mounted on top of it from the factory, and at the front you'll find this Windows button or home button if you're in Android. We got the front camera here and probably some sensors here. Now at the back you'll find the main camera with this two big mechanism around it. We also find some logos like Intel Inside and the input and output of the slate, made in China, and 64-bit processor plus other logos. At the top we can find the audio jack here, and here is the micro USB 2.0 port and the mini HDMI port as well. At the bottom, absolutely nothing. Something I forgot at the back, the speaker placed right here, so small you can miss it. Bunch of holes poked within the back of the tablet. Now on the left side we got the micro SD card slot with our card inside, while on the right side we got the on-off button here and the volume buttons here, with a pretty okay feedback but a very flimsy feel to them. Overall, the design of the Chuwi V8 is okay for an affordable slate. It's pretty solid for a tablet that costs less than $100. It's an excellent design. Now as far as the hardware is concerned, this model offers an 8-inch screen, an IPS LCD with a resolution of 1280 over 800 pixels, and right now we're switching to Windows 8.1. As I said, 8-inch screen, IPS LCD, 1280 over 800 pixels. The CPU inside the tablet is a quad-core Intel Atom Z3537F, clocked at 1.8 GHz. It's a 64-bit processor with Intel HD graphics Gen 7, and the RAM inside the slate is of the DDR3 kind. We get 2 GB of RAM, 32 GB of storage, which is quite impressive for below $100, of which 7 GB are dedicated to Android and about 13.7 GB dedicated to Windows 8.1. So we're in Windows right now after being in Android. This is a dual boot slate after all. At the back we have a 2 megapixel camera, while at the front we have a 0.3 megapixel shooter for selfies and as a webcam. On the connectivity front, well, we're getting Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN, Bluetooth 4.0, and also micro USB 2.0. There's also mini HDMI, as I said before, and we also have a G sensor on board of the tablet. Okay, now we're connected to the internet and the weather works. Now we're going to have to switch back to Android because I want to show you the battery test results. This tablet comes with a battery, a lithium-ion unit of the capacity of 5000 mAh. On paper it should offer 5 hours of continuous video playback. Its charger, bundled with the slate, is a 5V 2A unit, and in our test that involves HD video playback in a loop with Wi-Fi on and brightness at 50%, we achieved 5 hours and 58 minutes, which is okay for the price, but let's wait for Android to boot and then we'll show you more. Here we go, booting to Android right now. This is how the switch is done between Android and Windows. Press a button on the taskbar in Windows, press a button in the drop-down area in Android, and you're gone to the next OS with a fast reboot. As I said before, just a minute or two below 6 hours of HD video playback, which we're going to see in the gallery right now. Screenshots, and let's find the battery playback thingy. Here we go. 5 hours and 58 minutes on battery. So that's quite good, I would have to say. We are below the Asus VivoTab Note 8 that scores 8 hours and 40 minutes. We are also below the Nexus 7 2013 that scores 7 hours. When I say good, I mean good for the price, obviously. But we beat the Evolio Go Fun tablet that scores 4 hours and 22 minutes. And also we beat the AllView Viva H7 Live tablet that scores 4 hours and 25 minutes. So in the end, almost 6 hours isn't that bad. We also did the PCMark test, and let's see what happened there. PCMark simulates continuous usage by putting the device to stress to various tasks, and here we achieved 3 hours and 29 minutes. We beat the Evolio Go Fun 3G tablet again. That one scores 2 hours and 34 minutes, but we are below average compared to all the devices we've tested recently. If you're wondering about the charge, well, it took us 2 hours and 58 minutes to fully charge the Slate. It's at least faster than the AllView Viva H7 Extreme that needs 3 hours and 35 minutes. It's only a bit below the Asus VivoTab Note 8 that needs 2 hours and 40 minutes, so only 18 minutes more to charge this dual boot beast compared to the Asus VivoTab Note 8. Sadly, there are no power saving options that I know of. We should find them in the battery section here. There's no trace of them, and there are also no power saving options in Windows 8.1 unless you count the usual ones related to the brightness and connectivity. Overall, I would say the battery is reasonably good considering this Slate only costs $85. Basically, you can get playback for 3 movies, 3 full-length movies, and that's pretty much about it. Okay, now as far as the acoustics are concerned, let's get to the back area. You can see the speaker here. It's kind of small, and while it's small, it's also not performing very well. We got the stock music app here with an interface that looks antique now since Lollipop has arrived. And let's listen to some tunes. This is the equalizer with these 5 custom channels and genre settings. The tablet suffers from muffling, so placing it on a flat surface will greatly decrease the volume, as you can hear. The conclusion related to the playback, well, we're dealing here with a not very loud speaker. It sounds a little bit broken. There is no bass here, there is also muffling, but the high notes are okay. The player is the stock one, the equalizer is the stock one, and on Windows 8.1 we got Xbox Music with the usual options and no equalizer there. Overall, the experience is underwhelming, and we also did a test that involves a decibel meter, and let's see how that played out. This is the decibel meter at the back of the tablet, 72.5 decibels, and at the this is the back and this is at the front of the tablet, where we achieved 71.6 decibels. So basically we're below 99% of the tablets we've tested. For example, the AllView Viva H7 Extreme scores 74.3 decibels, the Xiaomi Mi Pad 83.3 decibels. The volume is very low, so you're better off with headphones in the end if you have some. This doesn't come with headphones. Now, as far as the screen goes, it may seem colorful and bright at first sight. Well, it's not exactly that. You're going to be using the gallery as your video player. And let's actually play some video here. By the way, on Windows 8.1 you'll be using Xbox Video, obviously. Okay, so let's check it out. First of all, we got realistic colors. As you can see, the screen is not very bright. Seems crisp, but that's mainly because of the resolution. The viewing angles are quite good. The worst aspect here is the contrast, because this tablet cannot handle any little bit of sunlight without totally failing to show text or image. So contrast is very poor, sunlight behavior is very weak, and we also do not have Gorilla Glass protection here. The only protection we have is a layer of plastic applied on top of the screen from the factory, which actually made our microscope experience pretty blurry. We usually put screens under the microscope to show the pixels. These are the RGB stripe pixels, but the protective layer mounted from the factory made this shot blurry. And then we reach the lux meter area, where we have a pretty low value, actually the lowest value we've ever measured so far on tablets, if I'm not mistaken. So we're achieving 159 lux units here, which is a bit of a bummer. For example, the Chuwi Vi8 H7 Life, a tablet from Romania that we tested, scored 201 lux and let us down. Well, this is more of a letdown. The Asus Transformer Book T100G had a low brightness of 281 lux. It was considered low then. Now compared to this one, it's excellent. Once again, one of the lowest brightnesses. However, remember that the LG G-Pad 8.3 had 260 lux. It doesn't seem so bad. Anyway, the screen was basically sacrificed for the sake of a lower price, which was to be expected. In the audio section, we didn't have special options. Let's see if the display brings special options. We got brightness, wallpaper, sleep, daydream, font size and cast screen. And then there's something called Intel Smart Video that improves video quality by reducing the noise and eliminating artifacts with interlaced content. I activated it and didn't seem to notice any difference in the playback. Overall, the screen is underwhelming even more than the acoustics. Okay, now let's get to the camera. And in order to do that, I'm going to bring this castle here, activate the 2 megapixel back camera with the typical KitKat interface. As you can see, there's a LED that lights up here, just like on Windows. And the options include video, photo or panorama. We got exposure, we got timer, we got resolution, picture size basically, 2 megapixels as I said before. We also have other settings like scenes and white balance. And while the frame rate looks pretty much okay, the shot will totally be unimpressive. At least the capture was fast. This is the 2 megapixel camera shot. It does its job properly, but not more than that. That's all the resolution you get here, nothing more. Of course, there's also the camera app in Windows that offers you a timer and, if I'm not mistaken, some exposure settings. Okay, so once again, 2 megapixel back camera, 0.2 megapixel front camera, and these cameras are only here to fill in the specs list. They're not excellent, they generate yellowish hues and blurry shots. If you want to do some editing, you can take your pictures and press this button and you will be met with the usual options, the stock options with filters, frames, crop, mirror and all that. We're done with the camera and the imaging aspect, and now we're off to the performance area. We start off with the thermometer. So after playing the game Riptide GP2 for 15 minutes, the device got kind of hot. It reached a top temperature of 44 degrees Celsius, which is not quite okay because it's, as I said, kind of hot. Now let's discuss the browser. You can either go with the stock one, stock Android browser, or you can go with Chrome, available right here, or you can go with Internet Explorer from Windows. I'm going to start off with the stock one from Android. So let's load Tablet-News.com. I would call this reasonably fast, but not more than that. And then there's the virtual keyboard that may seem comfy, but the one in Windows, is even comfier. Let's go to OS switch and see how Internet Explorer is able to load our website. And we're waiting. It takes about 1 minute or even less than a minute to change between OSs, sometimes more, sometimes less, sometimes even 40 seconds. That's basically the record when switching OSs. This is the Chuwi V8 tablet, and when I say V8, it's VI8, that's the name. And let's see how Windows handles browsing. Okay, we're going to have to connect to Wi-Fi again. Fire up Internet Explorer. Go to landscape. And this is the keyboard that's better spaced than the one in Android and more comfy if you ask me. Here we go, Tablet-News.com. Let's try that again. It's trying. it loaded just a bit slower than on Android. Usually it should be faster on Internet Explorer. This time it was just a bit slower. And apparently we also changed page, so let's try to load it again. A bit of a lag here, as you can see. So the conclusion is that the Android browser is faster, although Internet Explorer has that tendency to show the page instantly, making you think it's actually faster. The advantage here remains the input with a comfier virtual keyboard. Okay, now it's time to discuss the benchmarks, and for that I'm going to have to go back to Android yet again, because that's where I have stored all my screenshots. So this device has an Intel Atom quad-core processor, 64-bit unit, clocked at 1.8 GHz. It has been confronted with a Snapdragon 600 LG tablet, also quad-core, and with an Intel Atom Z3740 quad-core unit made by ASUS, and finally with an all-view tablet that has a MediaTek octa-core processor, and it packed some heat. And now let's see the benchmark results. So I mentioned before the CPUs, and now it's time to mention which devices are being compared here. This one is the Chuwi Vi8. I compared it to the LG G-Pad 8.3, the ASUS VivoTab Note 8, and the all-view Viva H7 Extreme. So first up, we got a quadrant and a score of 15,920, while the LG G-Pad 8.3 scored 12,000, and the all-view Viva H7 Extreme scored 12,956. So this one wins. And then we got Antutu. In Antutu we scored 34,833 points, while the LG G-Pad 8.3 scored 21,816, and the all-view tablet scored 28,175 using an octa-core MediaTek MT8392 processor. Then comes Nenamark. That should be here somewhere. Here we go. This is Nenamark with a score of 59.7 frames per second, while the LG G-Pad has 59.2 frames per second, and the all-view tablet has 58 frames per second. Velamo is in the mix as well, and let's see its result, which is a very good 3271, beating the LG G-Pad by about 7,000 points, and also beating the all-view Viva H7 Extreme by almost double the score, since that one has 1,700. 3D Mark was a huge surprise for me. I was expecting the tablet to be good, but not that good. 14,741 points in 3D Mark, iStorm Unlimited, while the LG G-Pad 8.3 scored 9,456. The ASUS VivoTab Note 8 actually beat us with 15,000, and the all-view Viva H7 Extreme only 4,876, probably because of the optimization for the MediaTek processor. Geekbench 3 offered us a score of 803 in the single-core test and 2146 in the multi-core test, while the LG G-Pad 8.3 had 544 over 1571, the ASUS VivoTab Note 8 had 792 over 2628, and the all-view Viva H7 Extreme had 417 over 2127. GFX is in the mix as well, and this one brought us 1020 frames or 18 frames per second, while the LG G-Pad had 786 frames, the ASUS VivoTab Note 8 15 frames per second, and the Viva H7 Extreme 742 frames. We also did a speed test using the app called Speed Test via Wi-Fi, 14 Mbps in download, 18 in upload, while the VivoTab Note 8 had 17 Mbps in download, and finally the all-view Viva tablet had 23 Mbps in download and 21 in upload. There is also a browser mark test here with a pretty decent result, 1637, that was beaten by the LG G-Pad by about 1000 points, and also beaten by the ASUS VivoTab Note 8 by about 1100 points. SunSpider in the mix as well, the lower the better here, 1052 in this test, while the LG G-Pad had 1000, the ASUS VivoTab had 400, and finally the all-view Viva H7 had 989. We also did a Basemark X test, where we scored 16,408 points, which totally beats the LG G-Pad's 8,000 points. There was also Basemark 2 test, if I'm not mistaken, this one, with a general score of 976. Just for the sake of a comparison, an Apple iPad mini Retina scores 1170 in this test, so those are pretty close. Overall, this device wins 7 out of the 11 benchmarks, and it's very close to the iPad mini Retina as far as the benchmarks are concerned, which is a huge compliment for a tablet that costs 3 or 4 times less. I have to say that I didn't expect such results. The results were surprisingly good. There is no lag here. There is no lag in Android and no lag in Windows 8.1, which is a pleasant surprise again. And obviously you can run games like Riptide GP2 with no problem. This is a benchmark game with 3D graphics, dynamic lighting, water effects, water splashes, and a pretty strong speed sensation while racing. So let's see it in action. Responds well to the commands, nice looking water, good illumination, or better said lighting, that's the official term, nice speed sensation, and now let's see a trick. Okay, backflip, and we press the home button and we're done. It's time to discuss operating systems. First of all, we're running Android here. It's KitKat, but which KitKat is it? It's Android 4.4.4, and at the same time we're running Windows 8.1, and we can make the switch as we just saw earlier. KitKat runs with some tweaks, but the multitasking stays the same based on swipes, and we got 2 drop-down areas, one for notifications and some shortcuts, and one for the quick settings that include the screenshot button and the OS switch button that makes the device stand out. If you turn the device in landscape, you will trigger 2 more virtual buttons for the volume down and volume up, as you can see right here. The widgets are pretty much the stock ones, plus or minus the one related to weather, file manager, and another extra app that will clean your memory. If you truly want something customized in this experience, you have to go to the settings area. That's totally changed from the stock Android. We got brand new icons, and we also have HDMI settings if you're planning on connecting this device to a TV set, storage settings, app settings. You can add a new user if you want to, calibrate your sensor, mess with Intel Smart Video, and that's pretty much it. There's also a floating system acceleration widget associated to an app. You tap it and it shows you a way to increase your memory capacity, clean the cache, and other things like that. It's in Chinese, so I don't know what it's doing, but it's certain that it's accelerating the device. Now, as far as the pre-installed apps list goes, there's not much bloatware, which is good news. We got Baidu, we got a browser, calculator, calendar, we got Chrome, we also have a file manager. We also got Gmail, something called LPAL configurator. That's very interesting. This one allows you to record phrases and use them as vocal commands on the device, which is a nice feat. We got Maps. We also have Movie Studio, Music, and let's check out Maps, see how it's handled on this tablet. Okay, let's try and be located. That was reasonably fast, and now let's go to another layer, which is satellite. So I would say that the app is working quite fine on this device. Okay, we continue since the list is a bit bigger. Aside from Maps, we also have Music, we got People, the Play Suite, Play Games, Play Store, and we also have something called Reading Joy. It's in Chinese, it's an e-reader, and there are more Chinese apps here. Okay, and then comes Settings, Sound Recorder, we got something called Taobao, Tencent Video, Voice Search, Wide-Eye Receiver, and 2 Chinese apps, of which one handles the acceleration, harassment filter, memory, some antivirus features, and data connectivity features. Okay, if you want timing here, when switching from Android to Windows 1, it takes about 40 seconds, and when switching from Windows 1 to Android, it takes about 50 seconds, but these durations will fluctuate. You can also use the Windows button in Android as a home button. It's time to turn our heads towards Windows 8.1 and analyze its experience. Here's the typical experience of an 8-inch tablet. It's offered bundled with the Office 2013 license. It's actually Office 365 from what I've seen. It's got the snap multitasking, it's got the usual gestures. It obviously doesn't have bloatware. And let's see what it's all about. Okay, here we go. This is Windows 8.1. We're logging in. The usual tile-based experience, the apps section, the desktop. You can install x86 applications. We got folders, and the memory available here is 13.7 gigabytes, of which 9.60 are free. And if you're opening up an app, like for example the store, but you have to connect to the internet, that's something that always happens here. You have to remember to connect to the internet when coming from Android. So let's go again. If you open up the weather and then open up the App Store, and then you want to do a bit of multitasking, you got your usual snapping option that should theoretically allow you to split the screen in two. This is it. This is the snapping option. You can use the store at the same time with the weather app and split the screen in two. Okay, other than that, usual tiles and usual gestures. You swipe to the side to go from one app to the other. If you're inside an app, you can close it by swiping down. We got the options here, the charm bar. We got search, share, start, devices, and settings, quickly accessible like that. And once again, the desktop mode with a shortcut that will go straight to Android. In case you're wondering about the pre-installed apps, nothing fancy here. Got alarms, calculator, calendar, desktop, food and drink, games, health and fitness, Internet Explorer, mail, maps, Microsoft Office, money, music, news, OneDrive, OneNote, PC settings, people, photos, pictures, reader, scan, Skype, sports and store, video and weather. And finally, if you press Office, you'll see that it's bundled with the device. It's Microsoft Office 365. Click activate to get started. The offer can be redeemed up to December this year. And now, before we give the verdict related to this slate, keep in mind that we also have a mini HDMI port on board, so you can connect to a TV set. And we also got this tablet bundle with a USB OTG cable, so you can connect a keyboard, mouse or USB stick to it. Now, we're on to the Pro section. On the Pro side, this tablet has an excellent price, below $100, $85 actually. It doesn't suffer from lag. It quickly changes from Android to Windows in about 40 or 50 seconds. It has a pretty solid plastic case, bundled Office. We got two OSs, which is obviously a Pro. Good benchmark results, surprisingly good. Good gaming experience, maybe aside from the slight overheating. 32 gigabytes of storage, of which we only get 13 and 7 on each OS. No bloatware, an okay-ish battery, once again for the price. And finally, the presence of the mini HDMI is an advantage. We also have a cons section, obviously. On the cons side, the screen could obviously be much brighter. The screen is underwhelming here. The speaker is also underwhelming. There's a slight overheating. There's little Android storage, and some Chinese apps that English users may not appreciate because they don't understand what's happening. Other than that, this one is a pretty solid product with two OSs, low price and quite a solid build. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9 out of 10 for design, 8.2 for hardware, 9.5 for OS and UI, and finally an extra grade, a 10 out of 10 for the price. The final grade is 9.17 out of 10 here at Tablet-News.com for the very solid Chuwi V8 that we bought from GearBest at $85 in price tag. It's a Chinese surprise. It can be used for fun and for business with both Android, with both access to the Play Store and to the Windows Store. You can get all your games, your productivity apps, Office, everything in a package that costs less than $100, and that's a great thing. It's the first dual boot tablet we test. We hope more will come, and we give it a solid 9.17 out of 10 here at Tablet-News.com. Solid performance, sacrifice screen, but a pretty good device at this price. That's it from us. Bye bye.